Hey, Bikeaholics, Zero 3D has a wide variety of innovative products for your Harley-Davidson and a brand new line for the all-new Honda Goldwing. Named Gold Strike, top quality, affordable chrome lighting and comfort products. Zero Gold Strike are the motorcycle LED lighting innovators for CAN bus plug-and-play system compatibility. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store. Check out our full line of Zero 3D products. Here's a email. No, this, you can help with this. I think it's not super complicated, but I wanted to go over it. This is, hit us up on our contact form, lawabidingbiker.com/contact. You can leave a voicemail from there, right from your computer microphone anywhere in the world, or you can leave an email like this. So this is reference our free video, been out for a long time. There's actually two of them. The Harley rear wheel removal over at lawabidingbiker.com/rear wheel. It's from Tony of Ocala, Florida. Ocala, Florida? I'm not sure, but I think it's Ocala. All right. Subject: rear belt cam adjustment from your video. So he watched the video and he writes, "Hey, I really enjoyed the video on changing out the rear tire. Everything you mentioned was spot on, especially the part of removing the rear caliper. I made the mistake of thinking I could slide the wheel and rotor out without removing the caliper, and the rotor got hung up. Luckily, I was able to remove the caliper and all was good." Yes, and I will say that happens. Sometimes you get in a hurry. A quick question or comment on the belt cam adjusters. You mentioned in the video to mark the cams as to where each align up on the swing arm boss with a Sharpie, basically. I did just that. However, when putting everything back together, my cam markings were slightly off when trying to align up the boss. After much thought on this, I realized only one side needs markings. The left cam is welded to the axle crown, and the right side cam fits perfectly and flat on the notch end where the threads are. So there really are no adjustments on the left side cams. The only adjustment would be made for being too loose or tight, not whether wheel is cocked left or right. My response: yes, you are correct on the cams, bro. The left cam is welded, and so just make a mark. I just make a mark for my visual. I'm anal, I guess. But at the end of the day, it will end up where it ends up. Mine too won't always be exactly on when reinstalling, but no big deal or anything to worry about. So there you go. And so to sum that up, guys, basically in that video, I just take a Sharpie and I mark those cams, and that's what adjusts your belt tension, basically, and how far back your wheel is. I just like marking both, just because I can look at both sides and have a visual, but he's absolutely correct. The left one's welded on. So really, at the end of the day, you'd only have to mark the right one. Any follow-up on that, Big Daddy?
Nope. That's what I do.
Nice. Want to ride longer, Big Daddy? Are you tired of a sore and achy ass? Then fix it with a high-quality butt buffer seat cushion. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store and check out our lineup of butt buffer seat cushions. Oh, yeah. Once you've had Rick Rack, you'll never go back. The ultimate motorcycle luggage rack solution. Forget those messy straps and bungee cords. Go strapless with a Rick Rack quick attach luggage system and quality bag. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store. Get hooked up now. And I know Big Daddy, he's got all this stuff that we're talking about down in the store, ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
Let's do this thing. Oh, yeah, we got a good episode for you guys. We're going to have fun. This is a live video broadcast, live chat with our beloved patron members. They're already in the chat, blowing it up. One of the many benefits for being a patron member, and they're also getting this episode months before it will ever release. So if you're listening to this in regular podcast format, this was broadcast live, and we chatted with our patrons months before you're getting it.
Months.
Months. Sometimes more than months, depending on where it's at. We've done good this year, keeping up. Welcome back, you freaking bikeaholics. This is the podcast for the motorcycle majority, the Big MM, also known as the
99%.
Oh, nice spin on it. Large and in charge of the motorcycle scene more than any time in history. By being here, by listening, you're part of what we call the hashtag
Biker Revolution.
There you go. We do have just one question for you before we get started. What are you waiting for, bikeaholics? Mount up.
And let's take you on another wild-ass ride.
Nice. Ryan Erlacher here, your host of the Law Abiding Biker podcast, and your
high-tech redneck.
All right. I hope this gets better. I do see a lag video. Hopefully the audio's doing good, guys. I don't know what's going on today at all. So hopefully we don't have to stop the broadcast and then start it over. We wouldn't actually start it over the audio, but we just have to redo the video feed. But if it gets really bad, as long as the audio is good, then I'm cool with it. But if the audio gets bad or laggy, guys, something, just let us know in the chat. Yeah, I know. I see it on the feed, guys. So it is what it is. Like I say, if the audio is good, then I think we're okay. The video is what it is. Okay, audio is good. I just don't want to restart just because the video is jerky. I don't think it would be worth it. But if the audio gets bad, definitely we'll restart it for you guys. All right, so Big Daddy in the house here. Been a while, and I'm so happy to have him in here.
Hey, y'all. It's a Christmas season. It's about our Lord not loving him as trees, and it's time to rejoice. So from everyone at Lab, have a glorious holiday season.
Nicely done. Always love having Big Daddy in here. Good for a little rhyme action. That was nicely played, bro, for the holiday season. We got a great episode for you guys. This is going to be about moving from a trike back to a two wheels. Plus, we've got other content for you guys. Now, you remember we did an episode when Big Daddy moved from a two wheel to a trike, and we did a whole episode on that. He was trying some things, and he's got a lot of experience, and he rocked that trike for a while, and actually took it to Sturgis. And we'll get into kind of what happened and the process there, and maybe why he moved back to a two wheel and everything in between. And we've got some, like I say, we've got some other content beside that for you. Maybe some store updates, maybe some Sturgis stories. But nonetheless, that's going to be the main topic when we get into that. So I do want to mention a new free video for you guys, and that is a surprise visit to the law-abiding biker motorcycle store. And I will
left it a mess.
Dude, I try to not mess everything up when I'm doing my live video, but I know you're watching it because I was doing a live, right? I was doing a live and I was trying to show everything, and I know I did not get everything back in place, and I'm sure it was well noted. Go ahead.
No, you did fine. It just, I think the fans think that you don't clean up after yourself, but you actually do.
Okay.
But there was peanuts like stuck clear into the back where they were stored. Like you had spilled some, and then like the air conditioner or something had picked it up.
Oh my God. So if you guys didn't get to see that video, I'll put it in the show notes, lawabidingbiker.com/whatever episode number this is. And it was kind of a fun video, but I show a whole bunch of products and how organized the store is down there. And then at the end, I throw some peanuts all over. And Big Daddy runs a tight ship down there, so I'm always kind of screwing with him.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, Gary says that my video is fine and the audio is fine. It's yours that is lagging.
Oh, okay. So it's just my streaming. I'm using OBS here, and okay. Well, that's good to know because it's definitely lagging here. And I'm not running anything else, but good to know. Good to know. Yeah. I just can't tell you why it's doing that. But all right, as long as you guys are getting it. So thanks, Gary, for that information. And now we love our sponsors up front. And this is a live patron member event, live chat and all that. And we certainly love our sponsors up front, but we want to thank the following people also for their patron membership.
Yes, we have Brett Walls of Rock Falls, Illinois, Don Cristalier of Morro Bay, California, and he's a top tier, and Bob Moynihan of Manchester, New Hampshire.
Continuing, Dale Agler of Harrod, Ohio, Mike Holman, and Michael Lovelace he's a military. Thank you so much for serving. Finishing it off.
And we have Karen Fujita of Seattle, Washington, James Davis of Kirkwood, California, and he's top tier, and Brian Anderson of Canastota, New York.
Very nice. Some of our newest patron members, lawabidingbiker.com/Patreon, Patreon. Pledge a certain amount, purpose content, no risk to you because you can put a monthly cap. There are benefits such as t-shirts and stickers. You get in that private Facebook group. It's a troll-free zone, one of the best forums, the best, I think, motorcycle forums around. Access to these live video broadcasts and chat, and you get access to these episodes months before everybody else. And, of course, top tier, up to access to our premium videos up on request. and thank you so much. We're going to keep going on. At the time of this recording, we're in 2020. By the time most of you are hearing it, it's probably 2021. But we're going to keep ramping up the patron membership and keep going with these benefits that we really doubled down on in 2020. And I hope you guys are enjoying all those. We're going to do an episode right after this. It's not going to be live, but as soon as we record it within a day, I will have it uploaded to the back end of your patron account so you can have that early. And that one, just so you guys know, since you're here, me and Big Daddy, he did an article, and it's a really good article. It's on the website if you want to go check it out, but it will be the motorcycles, music, and the impact they have on the biker culture. That was the name of the article. And Big Daddy did a whole list of some top motorcycle riding songs. And so we're going to have fun with that episode. And again, I will upload it in the back of your patron accounts, although it won't be live, but you will get it early. All right. Let's just dive in here. So let me set this up a little bit, Big Daddy, and Big Daddy's going to do a lot of the talking here on this episode because it's really his experience. So he had his trike. How long did you have it? I'm trying to think now.
I think it was a good 7 months.
Okay. So a good 7 months. And again, you can go back and listen to why Big Daddy switched to a trike. We did a whole episode on that. I don't remember what the episode number is. Let me see if I can get it for you here real quick. And I'm just going to our website. If you guys wonder, we have a wonderful search bar on our website. And I'm just typing in Big Daddy Trike. If you ever want, we have 8 years, I guess, of content on this website. Videos, podcasts, articles. If you want to find something and you don't want to wait for us to respond via email, just head over to our website. Huge search bar. That's what I did. Big Daddy Trike in that search bar. It came up right here. LAB-279, episode 232. It's titled Transitioning from 2 Wheels to 3 Wheels on a Harley Trike. So that's how easy that was. That's actually how we answer most of our emails, me and Lurch, those emails. So to set it up, 7 months on a trike. And now Big Daddy had a 2-wheel too. He's got a bike on the side, for riding locally and stuff. But for these long trips, he had moved to a Harley trike, and we took off to Sturgis. And so this was really the big, because you didn't take that on last year's trip, did you?
No.
Okay.
No. This was the first
7 months
huge trip. I mean, we made a couple 400, 500 milers where we went down towards the Cooley and stuff like that. We did I did that trip with it, but other than that, this was really the first big trip.
Yep. So put it to the test, basically.
Yeah.
And you were riding 2-up with Sinbad, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We were riding 2-up. So there was quite a bit of extra gear than what normally our group rides are just us, the guys. And then we set aside other rides where we have our spouses or girlfriends along. And so this one was the first one. So it was a good test run, not only for the trike, but also for her being back, because she hadn't, other than a couple 200 or 300, 400 milers, she hadn't ridden like that in years. Yeah.
And, sorry, so I can see you better. Excuse me. So tell me about the trike. You brought up a thing. So you had some extra gear. How was the trike, the Harley trike, for packing and room? Because that trunk seems like it's really big when you look at it to me, but it's not, is it? Or is it?
No, it's not very big. I mean, they say it's the equivalent of 3 saddlebags.
Okay.
But a lot of the stuff that you have are large bags. So if you put one large duffel bag in there, it really limits the leftover space. And when you're talking about 2 jackets, heating gear, rain gear, because, you never know what you're going to get when you're going up over Beartooth Pass or any of those. I mean, you got to prepare for everything. And so it did have a little bit more room. And of course, I had my Rick Rack. I have an original rack on the back, so I have the Rick Rack Combo original that was on the back, and even that was completely filled.
Yeah, when you're riding 2-up. So full trunk, and then Big Daddy, yeah. And then you've got the trunk that opens in the back, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture it. And then you have the regular trunk.
Yeah.
Like the Ultra trunk.
Yeah, the Ultra trunk.
Yep. And then you've got the regular King, whatever. What's it called? King, or just the regular, trunk rack, the regular Harley trunk rack, which is the chrome rack. And then you put the Rick rack on top of that. And we did a video we actually installed on your dad's bike.
Yes.
If you guys want to see that video, we installed, because the trikes don't come with the rack, if I remember right.
They do not unless it's added by the dealer. And then of course they're charging for you in the added accessories, you know, on the buy slip and stuff. Yes.
Good call. It's all coming back to me. So it would behoove you to put a regular Harley rack, or the air wing. We have the Rick rack, both models, right? You can do the regular or the air wing rack.
Yes.
That's why I like having Big Daddy here, because I think I know I'm wrong a lot of times. So the air wing rack, and then you can double your storage basically, especially because, put it this way, had you not had the Rick rack quick detach luggage system on top of your trunk, would you and Cindy have been able to, you'd really be struggling? No underwear for you or what?
Well, I don't wear any anyhow. So, I mean, it just makes it faster.
True.
It makes it faster when you're a professional pool boy and you show up. It makes it a lot faster for filming and stuff. So,
right now, tell me this, because at Sturgis, I know these are the fun stories. We're going to get to the trike thing, but you told me a story at Sturgis. It's actually a really good trick, and I think I'm going to start implementing it. Tell me your underwear situation, about the old underwear and all that, dude. I actually thought it was a really good idea. I think I'm going to implement it next year.
It's absolutely fantastic. So what you do is you store up your old t-shirts, your underwears, and your sock throughout the year. And then when you go on these long rides that are 7 to 10 days, you take those with you to wear. And so instead of having to always deal with washing, I mean, we still do some washing because you take some newer stuff as well, some newer clothes, if you're going to go out or do something like that. So what I'll do is if it's a 10-day trip, I'll pack 12 pairs of underwear that I've had over the last 2 years. I'll pack 7 or 8 things of socks and all my old t-shirts. And then when I wear them for that day and we get to the hotel, I just throw my shirt and my socks and my underwear away. And then now I have even more room to buy shirts or whatever else I'm going to buy.
I'm not kidding you. That's like a pro tip. And when you told me at Sturgis what you did, I'm like, why have I never thought of that, dude? You've never shared that with us before. Dude, you're holding these pro tips to yourself, dude. Well, you got to share these with the audience.
Well, most people, you know, when their underwear gets old, they just throw it away. Right?
Yeah, right.
They should.
That's what I do.
I mean, that's what I would do. I throw it away, right? So before it's actually at that point where, you know, because I don't let my underwear get to the point where the band is ripping and stuff like that.
The elastic's gone.
But it's obviously when it's time to get new ones, then I usually get a couple package of Duluth expensive underwear, and those are the ones I wear at work because, you know, they're cooling and stuff like that. Or I wear them a lot. But then I'll also buy some cheap branded ones, and I'll wear those throughout the year. And then when it's time for the trip, I take all those, set them aside, and put them in there. And then that's what I also do with my old shirts. So if I have a lab shirt, I recycle my lab shirts every 2 years because we do public stuff. So you gotta have a fresh shirt. But those shirts will last about a couple years, and then when it's time, or my old Harley shirts, and then I'll take them and I'll wear them for the day. And if it's a cool day and I didn't sweat a lot, then I'll keep it and use it maybe the next day or another day. But if it's like a hot day, like that day in the Badlands, then I just dump it and throw it in the trash. And by the time you're coming home, you're like, wow, I got more space than when I came here.
Dude. Yep. That's, hopefully you guys like that. If you're not doing that, which I freely admit I was not, that's a pro tip. And, I'm going to implement that. And because I'm always so packed, more than everybody, because I have all the film gear too. If I could free up room throughout the trip, because I do here when they get old, I just throw them away. You know, if they're like, borderline, you know, you're like, or wife's always buying new ones, you know, whatever. And I'm just going to keep a bag, and it's going to be a motorcycle trip bag of some old t-shirts, old underwear. Dude, I'm sold.
And socks.
Exactly. Because all my work socks get old.
Yeah. The work socks. I mean, when you're working 410s or whatever your schedule as a firefighter, EMT, paramedic, everybody knows that we go through socks like crazy.
Yeah.
And so I just save those up, and they may not necessarily have a hole in them yet, but you can tell they're getting thin.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And then they go into that pile. And I just keep that pile. And then when the big trip comes, because I mean, I don't really care that I'm wearing the the most rich, expensive, shirt or something like that. I don't have a reputation to keep or impress.
Right.
So if this shirt, is 2 years old, like an old Harley shirt or something, if I'm not going to save it for the quilts,
you're right. Or a rag.
Save some for quilts and stuff. Or I save
use rags.
I save a couple for when I'm changing my oil. So I put it underneath the oil pan so that it, it doesn't get that bad on the lift. Then just use them for that and then just throw them away.
There you go, guys. Pro tip. We got some serious chat going on in here. Thanks, everybody. Gary Jackson, Jerry Kovar, Jackson Levide. Sorry. We got more too. I just wanted to mention some of them in there. Brett Leonard in there. Hello, everyone. He says, yep. Good guys. All right. So let's get back to the trike. I told you you're going to get some extra content on here. You never know what I'm going to ask, but it just popped in my mind. So with all that and the Rick Rack system, if you guys obviously all know, we do sell the Rick Racks down in the Law Abiding Biker store, and Big Daddy is very educated and up to date on that. The listings are very clear, but if for whatever reason you do have a question, hit us up over at the store contact form. There's a big contact button, and we can get you dialed in with a Rick Rack system, whether you ride a trike or whether you ride two wheels like Big Daddy is or I am on the Street Glide Special. So, all right. So tell me this. We're going to talk about a little bit about the rideability. On the way to Sturgis, and I do have a question for you, but let's do this real quick. You want to do it?
Ride longer and treat your ass with some respect already. Get hooked up with a premium butt buffer seat cushion.
Oh, my ass.
This company of bikers developed a super thin hospital-grade seat cushion made of solid and elastic materials, and it's unlike gel pads that will leak if punctured.
Feels so good on my ass. Just screw you up, dude.
The butt buffer is designed not to slide around on your seat. Fits all motorcycles, installs in seconds, easily cleans, and helps to dampen vibrations. With plenty of models to choose from, they'll assure you'll have a comfortable ass when riding. Head on over to the Law Abiding Biker store and check out our line of butt buffer seat cushions.
Oh, yeah. Feels so good on my tight little buns.
That was
tight tushy.
My first time reading that.
I know. I put you on the spot, dude.
And, but the funny thing is we've been selling a metric shit ton of these.
Yeah. Since my video went out, huh?
Even before that, we had trickling.
Yeah.
And then the YouTube video came out and it started hitting, and it's doing well. In fact, we broke butt buffer. We broke butt buffer's butt.
This is a great story.
It's like a huge crack, all because of Law Abiding Biker.
Yeah, they good company, super down to earth folks. But on that note, they weren't quite. We try to tell companies that once we buy into something and we like the quality and it's something that we're actually going to recommend to our audience after we did all our testing during Sturgis. A lot of these companies don't really realize when we tell them, do you have enough stock? Because when we push the video and we start advertising on the podcast, we're going to move these things. Again, we vet everything. We get a ton of companies that want us to sell their stuff. It's actually a small percentage of the stuff that we will, buy into and recommend after testing. And these, we were all in. And so, we literally sold them out within. And I think he realized, good guy.
Yeah, he went off his last year's numbers and, of course, had placed another order to get his stuff in so that he could manufacture them. And, he had plenty of the top cushion ones, which is, I like the top cushion one, but the most popular has been the Pebble Polymer. And so
you get a little more airflow with that one.
Yeah,
right.
He got, of the size large, he sold out. And so he made a quick order to get in some more, and we sold him out a second time. And so now he's all set up. So I had to take it off the listing for the last 5-6 days because he didn't have any. But it was just reactivated yesterday. He says this will never happen again. He goes, you'll never break my butt again. No, he didn't say that, but that's what he's basically saying. It never happen again. I was like, now that's a challenge. Now I want to break your butt again.
Exactly. Nice. We got Popeye in here. He says, listening to these monkeys and cleaning out my closet, doing a bunch of remodeling at my house. Oh, Big Daddy thinks he's a carpenter or something, dude. Or maybe he's having somebody do the remodeling. I don't know. That'd be like me saying I'm remodeling. I suck at carpentry, man. I can work on bikes. I suck at carpentry, but
which is kind of odd because your dad was like a contractor and did woodwork and built decks and everything.
Isn't it
else.
Weird? We grew up working on cars and motors, and he was a craftsman, like super anal. But I just, for whatever reason, you learn what you want to, and I did carpentry stuff with him, but I just it didn't excite me, so I just didn't pay much attention. And so here I am. Now I hire all my contracting stuff, dude, and work on my own bike. I think Popeye says in the chat, I think Squid got new suspension too. We have the same haircut, but he's black and I'm white. Shouldn't be hard to keep us separate. Oh God, I don't know where that came from, but oh yeah, Popeye. Gary Jackson says, Popeye, crap, I know. Sorry, get you two mixed up. Must be the hair. LMAO. Okay, and then Popeye responded to that. So real good. So we take off for Sturgis. You're two up. You're all packed. And tell me this. Day one, we all met from Wenatchee guys, the Tri-Cities guys, and the Yakima guys. All of us converged on Othello. It was a kind of a central meeting place before we started heading southeast. You decided to take off and ride freeway all the way to Missoula that first day. Is that because we were going to ride? Let me preface it with a question so you know where I'm going with it. Were you going to ride the freeway whether you were just on a 2-wheel or 3-wheel, because we were hitting the famous Spiral Highway, which is 64 corners and 7.3 miles. You drop 2,000 feet elevation. Is that just because you didn't want to take it on your trike, or would you have done it on the 2-up, or would you skipped it either way?
Well, the first thing is I have a responsibility for the store. So at that time, the store was really hopping. So I knew I had to go into the store and get packaging and labels done and all that. So
the life of Big Daddy. I'm not kidding. The life of Big Daddy.
Yeah. So that's Cindy and I went in there and punched out like 34 orders that morning. That was just from the day before. So at that point in time, I knew I wasn't going to be able to meet you guys in Othello. The other thing is that because I have an imbalance in my ear, if I'm doing a lot of tight corners, it can sometimes make me start to feel dizzy. And so the guys just know that I drop back a little bit. I may take the corners a little bit slower. I've been doing some things to help correct that. So now I've been a little bit better, especially on 2 wheels, being able to reserve that. But, right-hand turns sometimes do that. So it just made sense for the first day for us to ride right to Missoula and then just meet you guys there. And I think we got there about 2 hours before you did.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And we're going to be using the YouTube audio for this, FYI, because I forgot to hit record. But we're recording in the back end of YouTube. But I'm just mentioning that. I'm an idiot. It has been a busy week, and I barely got up and running for this. So I might as well we could use part of it. So you guys were going to meet us in Missoula. So tell me about the kind of the trike experience. Let's get into that a little bit, and some of the things not only that you learned in 7 months of riding it, but and then dial it into this trip. Was it right away on this trip that you were like, this isn't going to work? And I know there's more as you get riding with us. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, no. First of all, I'll say anybody who wants a trike, and you need the trike to continue riding, continue to do it. In previous podcasts, and I'm not going to regress too much because we got to move forward. But for me, I was having issues with arthritis, in particular in my knees and my feet. And then I also have osteophytes in each shoulder, where the arthritis has actually started to create the bones into like points. And so overactive usage in my shoulders, my elbows, and my wrists can become very painful. And so even though I take medication for it, overworking it will cause that. And there had been times before riding with you guys, in particular the one ride where we went down and got on that barge, and Popeye would probably remember where we were at during that, the place where we had the hamburgers and stuff in that little tiny town. I had that. I also, we ride a certain way, and it's not necessarily fast, but I call it precision. And one thing leading up to this trip was that the trike doesn't really allow you to do that. Now, there's guys that will tell you they wheel it as hard as they can, like Dave King, and you can do that, but it still has its limitations. People may say they're riding it, and this isn't towards Dave, but I've talked to other trike riders, and they're like, yeah, man, the speed limit's 50 through the corner, and I'm doing 55. And I don't think they realize that we're sometimes able to go through at 60 or 65 because we practice that and go through. Not that we're just trying to speed and everything like that, but
you can do 20 over in a lot of corners on a two-wheel for sure.
On a trike, you just can't do that. And so you learn those limitations of that. So those were in my head on the way there. But really it was leaving Missoula and that second day that really got me started thinking about this. And then the third day, it was pretty obvious what I needed to do.
Yeah. And I want to preface, I said 20 over, and I said on the recommended speed for the corner, which is a recommended speed. So I'm talking if a corner's rated for 25, 25, 35, like 45, easy. And you guys know that in the chat. Those are recommended speeds for corners. That's not actually the speed limit of the road. So I just wanted to preface that because it may not sounded very good. So you started noticing it. How was your ride? You guys just bombed through like on the freeway, just getting hammered by wind, or how was it?
Yeah, it was windy and overcast. The first day with the trike was great. Cindy never really
freeway straight, mostly
freeway straight. I mean, you have to deal with, that section of I-90 going through Coeur Lane and stuff has a lot of steeps and pitches and tight corners. So obviously there's a huge difference going through there with a trike versus a two-wheel, but pretty much you can maintain the speed limit. There was a few corners where I had to slow down a little bit because you got to remember you're using all of your upper body to turn. And so by about halfway there, my wrist and my elbows were starting to ache a little bit. Cindy could obviously tell. Anybody who rides with me, I think they know why I do it now, but for a while people were asking me, but I'll be riding even on a two-wheel and all of a sudden I'll just start snapping my elbows.
I've seen it. Yeah.
And it just crack. And that's to relieve that pressure, and change the position of it. And I think she could tell that. So, I mean, there were times where she'd reach up and rub my shoulder or rub my elbow. And so that first night she was like, was that rough on you? And I go, it was a comfortable ride, but I said, I think tomorrow it's going to be the real test as to whether I want to continue this journey with the trike or not.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. So we hooked up, like I say, Big Daddy bombed over. We kind of went down, the Spiral Highway and then Lolo Pass, did some more scenic. Of course, our ride was a lot longer day because of that, but waiting in Missoula was Big Daddy and Cindy. And, so we take off the next day. And now you're in a group with us, and tell me from from group riding with the trike with us, there's some additional things. Talk about like passing and keeping up on a trike a little bit. Tell me about that, and if you're going to ride with a bunch of two-wheelers on a trike.
Well, I mean, the trike comes with the 114, and it's geared pretty nicely, but you're talking about a lot more weight. You're talking about 2-up. You're talking about extra gear than I would normally carry. So yeah, when there was times for passing, just passing on an interstate with 2 lanes isn't a huge issue. Having to kick down that 6th gear on those trikes are really quite interesting. I can't really explain it, but on the bikes, they're more of an overdrive and you would kick down and go. On the trike, there's just a little bit slower response, even though it's a 114. So doing the passes and stuff, but it didn't matter if I went full throttle. I couldn't keep up with you guys. And, people who enjoy their trikes or need to stick with the trike, then there's avenues that you can do to that. And a lot of them do. Like they'll get a torque cam put into it so that they can get a little bit better range from that and such. So there's things you can do. The highway stuff wasn't really an issue. Once we started going on to non-interstate, and especially as we started heading down into Yellowstone and stuff and going through the park and stuff, was a little bit different.
Okay. And I want to talk about that a little bit. So the sun's coming in, and I just realized somebody said, who is it in there, that I have a big glow over my head. You should see it because the sun's coming in just right, and it's just washing me. Let me see if I can fix this live. Oh, yeah. Just fixed it. Done. All right. Okay. So, yeah. So passing, I remember you talking about that a little bit, was a little bit of a deal for you. Obviously now, what did we ride the second day? That was Beartooth Day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was even leading up to Beartooth, on those roads was, a lot of corners, a lot more corners, I should say. And, tell me about that. Tell me your experience or anything else about that and Beartooth Pass and just some more corner riding and stuff. How'd you do that day?
That day was pretty rough, especially on my right shoulder. Remember, if you think about it, on two wheels, when you go into a corner, the centrifugal force is driving the bike into the pavement. Okay. On a trike, you're flat. And so when you're taking a corner, you're pushing with your right arm, pulling with your left arm, and you're holding that. And then you're also fighting the force that wants to push you on from the trike to the right.
Kind of that lateral. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're on the bike, you actually become part of the force that's actually pushing the road down. Mm-hmm. So it's actually easier on the body as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah, because you can lean it and lean into it and
yes.
work with it. Yeah.
Yes.
Instead of fight it. You're almost fighting it.
With the trike, especially the Harley-Davidson trike and trikes that are set up that way, that is what you're fighting. Now, when we got to the Zero tent, we got a chance to ride on a Goldwing trike that was made by a company that Errol Rudd and them knew. Mm-hmm. And he has a new technology as to where the front wheel cants and the bike actually leans.
That was the Honda one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that we all rode it around the parking lot.
And that was a very interesting, that had like no pressure. Plus it had power steering. So you're basically just barely moving it. And basically the mechanics of the power steering is actually moving it. But what you don't realize until you see it is that the front wheel is not only turning, but it's canting.
Badass.
It was pretty cool.
That would be fun. That bike, it's a Honda Goldwing, and it's a company that does a conversion to the Goldwing, right? Yeah, he does conversions. Now, we just kind of rode it around the parking lot just because it was fun. I'm obviously not in the market for a trike, but it was interesting. And for those that need a trike like you, it resolves some of the challenges that you experienced with the Harley trike. It resolves a lot of that. And so for that, for somebody who's in the market for a trike, I think it's definitely something worth looking at. It would be interesting to take that bike other than the parking lot, because you can only tell so much, and take that thing out for like a day around Sturgis and just see on those corners, to give a direct comparison to your trike.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was pretty nice to explain the whole process and stuff. And that was his top of the line. I mean, it had those floorboards and stuff.
Yeah.
He does other variations too, but
yeah, it was like a damn convertible, man. That thing was comfy. And it was smooth, and it didn't have
had a DCT automatic transmission.
That's right. That's what I was trying. Automatic transmission. It was
so smooth.
It was smooth as butter, man. It was crazy smooth. Yeah. All right. So let's get to let's do this, and then we'll get into basically your decision at Sturgis and the decision you made and why and all that. So let's do this. Hey, Bikeaholics, searching for new and exciting motorcycle products? Zero3D has the products you dream about for your bike. Check out their wide variety of innovative products for Harley-Davidson and Honda Goldwing motorcycles. Zero3D's got your back with chrome and black parts, lighting, and other comfort products. No modifying, cutting, grinding, or welding for an easy installation. That equals less time installing, more time riding, guys. Gals. Zero3D has a design team of riders with over 40 years experience with a passion for design and innovation. Zero Gold Strike are the motorcycle LED lighting innovators for CAN bus plug-and-play system compatibility. They pride themselves on great customer service. Got a question? Get in touch with them. Email sales@zero3d.com. Give them a call, 715-808-0027. Check out your local Harley or Honda dealership and ask for Zero or Gold Strike parts. A new leader has emerged, so check out Zero 3D's custom line of Gold Strike products for the all-new Honda Gold Wings. All you Gold Wingers, better yet, help support us right here. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store and check out our full line of Zero 3D products. There you go. We had a good time meeting with our Zero folks over at Black Hills Harley-Davidson. What an experience. You'll see it in the documentary film that I am balls deep in right now. And I'm tired. It is a project. That is all I will say. Not going to be out before Christmas. No chance in hell. This is a biggie, but it's going to be a good one. All right. So Big Daddy, we're doing good. All right. So you decide that based on these things. Now, even if you didn't have, some of the joint stuff going on, for the average person out there, there are some people that just ride trikes and they're in good, they don't have some of those issues.
We saw a lot of them at Sturgis.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a ton of trikes. It was pretty cool to see.
So we did see a lot. And so that would just be some things that you would say, be aware if you're going to get a trike. Hopefully that gives people some information on these are some of the things you may have issues with.
My advice would be is that if you have leg issues or you're an older person that maybe can't hold up a full touring bike, because some of the trike owners I spoke to that came to the Zero tent.
Oh yeah, cool.
They also have a two-wheeler, but it's a lighter two-wheeler that they ride around town, and they bought this so that they could extend their touring with their significant other. And so there's nothing I'm trying to say here is to tell people not to do it. Yes, I have some arthritis in my ankles and my knee's been blown out twice. But, and that was, I never really ever considered the steering portion when I bought that bike. During that podcast, I'm talking about my ankles and my legs. And for me, that whole steering concept just did not work for me. It wasn't an ego thing, but I can tell you that second day going through Yellowstone was fine. When we started going up to Beartooth Pass and taking the tight corners, by the time that we got up to the top and we ran into all those guys riding adventure bikes, there were some Beamers there and there was some Yamaha Tiagras, or I think that's what they're called, Teneres. I was worn out from just riding up Beartooth and getting to the top. And then by the time that we got down to the bottom, and that was, I had to go slower speed. I mean, you guys were going through at a very reasonable pace, and I had to go a lot slower and just taking those corners. By the time that we got down that hill and got into the hotel that night, I had already made my decision and told Cindy, this isn't going to work. If I can make this work when we get to Sturgis, and not everybody could do that. I mean, I'm pretty frugal, and so I save my money, but I also will spend my money where I think it is necessary for me to have better enjoyment. And so my thought at that point was like, yeah, it's the second day. Let's see how the third day is. But now that started creeping into me. And I even mentioned something to you at some point, like, man, I'm like tore up. My shoulders are tore up. And it was a joke at the time. I was like, man, I might just go buy me an Ultra. But the third day is when the stuff got real.
Yeah. Okay. So that's when it kind of dawned on you that this may be a good time to transition back.
Yeah. I mean, on that third day, getting into town, the ride into Deadwood was not really that super bad. It's just that I kept kind of getting left behind. And it's kind of when you ride with your guys and you're usually riding tight and stuff like that, you're not used to that, but I expected that. So I wasn't too worried about that. But when we got into Deadwood and then left Deadwood. It was way too busy. But, you know,
that place was crazy.
Yeah, we got to walk around a little bit. We left Deadwood and started to head towards Rapid City where our house was. It was at that point in time that I made the decision that I didn't know if I was going to make it happen, but I was going to go find out.
Okay.
Everybody was in a hurry to get to the house. We were moving along really well, safely, but moving well, really long. I'm not saying that we were going, you know, speeding 20, 30 over, but we were going pretty good. But there was some pretty tight corners in through there. Mm-hmm. And again, the limitations of the steering and the forces on your body. By this time, I was beat. I was done. You know, I just like, I can't.
Big Daddy threw the white flag.
Yeah, I mean, my shoulders literally, were on fire, and I had taken my Celebrex. I had taken 2 aspirin because that's all I had on the bike. I had done.
You take your Viagra?
Well, I took it with me, but I didn't take it on that ride. Okay. Not while I was riding. That was for in the evening.
Right.
So
you get it up in your system early in the morning when you're our age.
Yes. So yeah, by the time that we got to Rapid City and we parked and we all got situated and such, and decided to get ready for the next day, which was a big day for us because it was a long, hot day at Black Hills Harley-Davidson. So I looked at Cindy and I said, I'm going early. Me and Brian took off. Brian was like, I was just going to go by myself.
Goat.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't expect him to go. So we got up. Cindy and I made breakfast, and I don't think she went down there with me. She rode with somebody else to Harley-Davidson later when you guys came for I don't remember who she rode with, but she rode, I think. I mean, she might have been with me. Now I can't really recall.
I wasn't with you guys on that.
But yeah, we got there, and I started
Black
looking
Hills
around.
Harley-Davidson, during Sturgis.
Yeah. So I started looking around, and I found a Black Ultra that I liked. I originally was looking for a Road Glide Ultra, and they just didn't have anything. I mean, their Road Glide Ultras were basically gone.
Really?
Yeah. And, of course, the Road Glide Ultras are more money.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
I've never shot for those, so yeah.
Yeah, they had a couple used ones, but I wasn't interested in that. And so I found this one, and there was one just like it, but it had some pinstriping. Like mine doesn't have pinstriping, but this had some pinstriping done by a guy that does pinstriping there in Sturgis. And they wanted like $1,000 more for this pinstriping. And then on the back, it says Sturgis 2020. You know, it has the guy's name, and it says Black Hills Harley-Davidson. Well, I'm not going to pay $1,000 to advertise your dealership.
Yeah,
no
doubt.
offense to Black Hills Harley-Davidson, because they were great to work with.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pay $1,000 just to have pinstriping on the fender, the tank, and all this stuff. And then it's a walking billboard for a dealership. I mean, if it was $300 or $400, and I'm helping you get your, where'd you get that? Oh, that's cool. You got that in Sturgis. That's one thing, but I'm not going to pay $1,000, $1,400 more for that.
Yeah, I agree.
And so we started the negotiation process on that. Their prices were fair. I probably could have got it a little bit cheaper from my hometown dealership just because I have such a great relationship with them. But they stepped up to the plate on the trade-in on the Trike. I mean, they really stepped up. And so that was kind of the final straw. When we negotiated the trade-in price on that Trike, and I advised them that I was going to be taking certain pieces of accessories off of it, they were like, yeah, we don't care, because we sell them, we price them and sell them as though they're stock. On any used or relatively new ones, we price them like that. So we made the deal happen. They gave me a very fair price for the trade.
Okay, good.
And then it was just a matter of them taking my bike and installing the WIM, because they threw in a WIM for me.
Okay, that was part of the deal you worked.
That was part of the deal I worked, was the WIM. Note that if you ever buy a bike in Sturgis at Rapid City Harley-Davidson, or maybe this could be in any other
Black Hills.
Black Hills, yeah. Just note that a lot of those dealerships don't collect sales tax. So when you buy the bike and you walk out with your bill of sale and your temporary registration and such, you still have to wait for them to send you. They'll actually, Black Hills actually sent the paperwork to Tri-City Licensing, because that was the licensing company that does it for Benton County. And then they called me and said, hey, we have your paperwork here. You need to come down and pay your sales tax and everything like that. So
because you financed. Usually if you buy, so I bought some cars out of state for my wife. And if you buy it, I guess if you take a cashier's check and pay outright for it, then I just came back up and because I knew to get it licensed, I have to pay the taxes on it. But so that's interesting. If you're financing it, then they just send the paperwork, it seems like, right?
That was their process.
Right.
Their process was to send the paperwork to them, and they would call me when they had it. They told me they would call me. But just understand, they're not collecting sales tax. So when you go to buy the bike, you're basically buying the bike for the price, a temporary registration, through South Dakota, and that's it. I mean, so be prepared that whatever you pay for that bike, don't overprice your budget, because you're like, oh, look, I can afford this. And then when you come back, you have to pay sales tax on $30,000.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I didn't really put this into my budget.
Yep.
I knew that from my prior experience as in the banking industry. So I knew that, but just be prepared for that. So yeah, we went ahead and did the deal. They said, I told them I'll be back in 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours. I have some business obligations to do here. And they said, no problem. We'll get the WIM installed. And when you get back, you can take your parts off that you want to keep and put them onto the Ultra, and we'll be good to go. And so then I walked down and we did the Rick Rack meet and greet. And then we did the Ciro meet and greet. Which were great experiences. Long days. Long, hot days.
They were.
Shane and them were great. Obviously, the Ciro, they went above and beyond. I couldn't believe how down to earth they are. They were just excited to meet us, as I thought it was cool to meet them, because they're these innovative engineers that are designing these products. I mean, they're designing them right there. And so I'm looking at them like, man, I'm really cool to meet you. And they're like, hey, can I have a picture with you?
Yeah.
Can I have a picture? And you're like, yeah, okay.
We've been such a relationship online for so long. It's nice to meet them in person. We've had such a good relationship with Rick Rack and Ciro, over the years, but it's all been online. And so it's a different experience to just get to see them and meet them in person. I mean, you feel their personality over email, but you feel it more in person. And
it was really nice.
About that.
And even during there, Ken and I were talking. He's like, well, what do you want us to put on the bike? On
your new bike.
Yeah. And so we talked about certain things I want to do, and they didn't, I had to pay at my dealer price, because I could have just put it on at home, but they were nice enough to put them on for me as soon as it rolled up. But then is the interesting story about the Trike when we go back up to go get my bike. And that's where a kind of an interesting story developed.
Please share, because I was going to go there.
Yeah. So we leave Ciro, and Ryan says he wants to film me going to pick up this bike. And so we walk up, and I'm like, hey, where's my bike? And he's like, which one? Do you got the tag? And there's all these new bikes for delivery lined up. And by the time that I bought my bike, I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was around 500 or 700 bikes they had sold, and we were there on Tuesday. And then by the time we came back, they had already sold 50 more bikes than they had on their number list that morning. So, I mean, they're moving bikes. I mean, they're bringing in salespeople from dealerships. My sales lady, she was from Illinois, and she was there just working sales for this event.
They just bring them in.
Bring them in. And she was really cool to deal with. And it was really cool to have a female salesman, she knew her stuff, and, she was really cool to talk to, older gal, about same age as me. So, life related kind of things there. So we walk up, and, I see my Trike is sitting in this bay, and there's this old guy sitting in a chair across from it. And So I walk up to it and I tell the guy, hey, I need to take this. Where's my bike at? And he goes, it's right here. Give me your tag. And I said, okay, I need to take some stuff off of this bike and put it onto my bike. He goes, that's cool, brother. And he goes, I'll just ride the Ultra out to here. And he pointed to an area out in the back parking lot. And he says, you can go ahead and get on the trike, because I had the keys.
Mm-hmm.
I had the keys because they told me to keep the keys till I come back.
Right.
Because they didn't want anybody to take anything on, take off, because I still had all my gear in there. So I'm sitting there and I'm getting ready to, I'm going around the trike, and he says, yeah, move it and take it over there. So I start to unlock it and stuff. And this old guy, I mean, he's like, hey, that's my trike. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, that's my trike. He goes, they told me that you were going to be back in 2 hours. And he goes, or 3 hours. And I bought this, and I've been waiting here for 6 hours for you to show up so that I could turn around and have them put a trailer hitch on the back and get the keys from him. I bought this. So the guy, kind of the lot boy, looks at me and I go, you already sold this? And he goes, yeah, this sold an hour and a half after you traded it in.
That's some crazy shit, huh?
And I'm like, wow, wow. So I told the old man, I said, well, the deal is that I'm removing certain things from this. And he goes, well, what are you removing? Because I bought it as it is. And I said, well, no, you bought it as though it's completely stock. And I said, if you've got a beef with them thinking that all this stuff came with it, then that's their beef. But I already said I was taking these items off of it. Mm-hmm. So he's like, oh, okay. So I get on the trike and wheel it out, and he comes out and he's got his cane. And he's like, man, this is a nice trike. It's my first trike. And I'm like, yeah, it is nice. And so we start removing stuff. We start removing pouches off of the radiator. I had some pouches there. We start switching over the long antenna to my short antenna to long antenna. And he's like, you're taking the antenna? And I said, yeah, that's an added accessory. And he goes, well, I like the smaller antenna. And I said, well, I bet you if you go in there, you can buy one. and by this time, I think he's getting that. No, this was, he wasn't, he was actually really nice.
He was. I want the audience to know he was
really nice.
He'd probably be in the documentary film just a little bit. He was actually really nice, but he was just like, just asking some questions.
Yeah, he's like, why are you taking the antenna? Right. And so then we start taking some other stuff. And then he's like, it's like, yeah, I've been waiting here. They said you'd be back in 2 hours or 3 hours because they got to install trailer hitch, because me and my wife, are going to pick up a trailer and we're going to ride back to Kansas. And I said, well, that's cool. And, as we're talking along, he's, of course, the biker gripper cell phone gripper's on there. And I looked at him and he's like looking at it. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to leave this for you. And he's like, really? I said, yeah, I'll leave this for you. And he's like, oh, that's cool. And then, I left the Ciro cup holder on there for him. But we stripped. I mean, I think he was freaking out. He did say that when I was taking my Sworn Few derby cover off, he goes, oh man, you're taking that? And I go, yeah.
That's a club
item. And he's like, oh man, I thought that was really cool. And I'm like, yeah, you can't have this. And he's like, why not? And I said, cause you're not a member of our club. Only, full patch members can have this on their bike. He's like, oh, okay. And so we're down there, and Victor and me and Goat, we're all basically like a NASCAR pit crew.
Yeah.
And in less than like maybe
Popeye was involved in that.
Yeah, Popeye was involved in it too. In less than like, I'd say,
just start stripping it.
10 minutes, this bike's completely stripped of everything except for the biker gripper and the Ciro phone holder.
Yeah. We told him too about, you left the biker gripper right on it. Sorry, you said that. I was chatting.
Yeah, I left the biker gripper and the cup holder just because I didn't want to deal with that. And I knew that I was going.
You might know where we can get some.
Yeah. I knew that I would either do it at home or I would just do it because we went right from there down to the Ciro tent. And then that's when they installed a drink holder. They installed some absolutely fabulous. I drop shipped these. We don't have these in stock, but they have, Ryan has a video on it. It's their mounted shifter, highway pegs.
Yeah, right.
Mounted highway pegs. So they installed a set of that with some pegs and stuff. So they were done pretty quick on that. I mean, literally, they put it up on the ramp. They installed it. They had me sit on the bike. They adjusted it to where I wanted it. And then we were gone. So, but it was kind of interesting that, I thought I got a very good price on the trade-in.
Mm-hmm.
Hour and a half, 2 hours later, this guy sees this trike and buys it.
That's a great story.
So it just goes to show, how many bikes they move there.
Yeah. Used and new. It is. It's interesting because they're moving it at the same time they're moving them in. They're moving your bike out just as quick as they can get it in. That's the biggest Harley dealership, right? They move more bikes than anybody in the U.S. A lot of it has to do with Sturgis.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. They move a ton of bikes. And I don't have, I had an article at one time. It kind of tells some of the numbers they do, but it is insane. But with that said, you're telling me, just in case other people go to Sturgis, I would think in my mind tells me, hell no, it's going to be chaos. I don't even want to deal with the dealership. But from what you're telling me, it was actually a pretty smooth, regardless of how busy it was.
I cannot tell you how organized they are. And if you think about it, they've been doing that for a long time.
True.
You literally walk into this tent, you look at the bikes, you go to another outside of the tent to another tent, and you make your offer. While they're doing that, the sales manager or the used bike manager, whatever, goes and looks at your bike, comes in, tells you what they're going to pay you for it. You negotiate any price or any accessories that you want thrown in. So like for me, I negotiated having the whim installed. And then 15 minutes later, I was in a trailer signing the paperwork. And then they said, okay, go down and get your bike. And I'm like, actually, I'm going to leave it here because they got to install the whim. Oh, yeah. I said, plus I have a commitment for several hours, but I'll be back. And when I do, I'll switch it. And they're like, yeah, no problem. I mean, it was the fastest, cleanest purchase other than going and just with cash, going to buy a bike.
Right.
And you say, I want to buy this bike.
Here's a cashier's check, right?
I mean, even the financing was super quick. I mean, they had me fill out an app on this other side of the tent where I made the deal with the salesperson. And I filled out an app and they literally put it into a fax machine. And then like 10 minutes later, they're like, yeah, you're approved.
They're clearly pre-set up.
Yeah. How are you going to pay for your $3,000 down payment? And I'm like, my credit card, because I don't have my checkbook here. Right. So it was I would not detour anybody from buying a bike during Sturgis. My only caution is that just don't overbuy, because buy what you can afford, just like you're at home, because the only difference is instead of the sales tax being financed, you're going to be paying it
out of pocket
when you show up out of pocket. So don't overstretch, because I was going to put $5,000 down, and me and Goat were sitting there talking, and she was explaining the sales tax deal and how I was going to get licensed. And I said, well, I better only put $3,000 because I don't know what this sales tax and plate fee and everything else is going to be.
And it's good she disclosed that. That's what's nice. You know what I mean? Because they wouldn't have to do that, and some guys would get suckered. So we love our sponsors, love our patron members. We would love to get to know you better and live chat with you and get you in the Facebook group. But hey, if the way you want to support us right now is just through a flat donation, well, we certainly never buck.
We have Stephen Cooper of Bushy Park, Tasmania, Australia, Bernard Smuck, and Ted Theodore of Beaconsville, Quebec, Canada.
Lawabidingbiker.com/donate is how you leave that flat donation.
Just sold Bernard a...
Oh, did you?
Yeah, just sold him a butt buffer.
How cool is that? So he donates and then he shops in the store. That's freaking awesome. That is the community. And thank you for those flat donations. It helps put a little fuel in the law-abiding biker gas tank so we can keep this thing heading on down the road. So finish it off, and then we're going to close it down. And thanks for everybody being in the chat. You got your Ultra Limited. And how you liking it?
Oh, I love it.
Not your first Ultra, but yeah.
No, but it was a transformation getting used to it again.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing, like you know, when I ride the 17 Heritage, I rode that the 800 miles or so we did to Bend, Oregon and back. You know, I was by myself. So when we first left there, I looked at Goat and I said, "Can Cindy ride with you?" And he said, "Why?" And I go, "This is the first time me riding a heavy ultra in 6-7 months." Mm-hmm. I said, I really need to get used to this bike. And it actually more than that, because I'd had 2 road glides for a combination of 4 years before that. The one that was destroyed in the fire and then the white one. And yes, the road glide and the bat wings do ride differently as far as going through things. Because the road glide, the fairing just stays straight. So you're just used to it. And when I first got onto that Ultra and started going, I'm like, wait a minute, the fairing's moving. What's up with this? Right. What's up with this? It really was a shock to the system. That first ride home, even though I know how to ride it, it was really weird to me because I had just spent the last four years on a road glide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. I never even thought of that. Yeah.
The road glide, when you go to turn or take corners, you're just naturally turning the wheel, you know, and the fairing's staying with you. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I'm looking, this fairing's moving. And you could say, well, it's not such a big deal, but I guarantee if you've been off a bat wing for 4.5, 5 years,
I believe it.
And then all of a sudden you're back on one. And the weird thing was, I you know, if we had the doodaloo,
oh yeah,
you know, the
this right here, the Dream Heart.
Yes. You know, as I was riding that bike back to the house, because I had to actually go back and meet Tom at the house. And then I met you guys at that Fireman Diner.
Firehouse Brewery. In Rapid City.
I was sitting there thinking, man, I don't remember when I bought my Ultra in 14. I don't remember, you know, having this weird transition feeling. I did not have anything at all. Even though I was riding Road Kings, I was just used to that. And so I was riding back. I was like, wow, you know, or just taking corners, like slow corners. I had to really get used to it. So it took me a good 4 days to really relearn to my riding level this bike. It was just kind of interesting. I wasn't expecting that at all. So yeah, she rode to the restaurant with you guys, and then me and Tom met up with you, and then we spent 4 days doing nothing but riding the bike, and all of it was 2-up with Cindy. So then you add that. Now I'm riding a brand new bike on a platform I haven't ridden in 4.5 years, and I'm doing 2-up. Like, I will tell you, one of the scariest turns we ever made was on the last day pulling into that Starbucks before we left. We all pulled into that Starbucks.
Yeah.
Taking that right
Billings,
turn.
right? Not Billings.
Butte. No, in Rapid City.
Oh, in Rapid City. Okay, sorry.
The first day that we were leaving.
Yes.
Taking that right turn.
Yeah.
2-up with, I would guess, 50 pounds of gear.
Yeah.
Because I had
fully loaded.
I had that heavy tool kit. I had the air compressor if anybody had a flat. I had all of Cindy's clothing plus the stuff that she bought.
At least you were lighter on a few pairs of underwear.
Yes. It really offset the 5 shirts she bought. Yeah. And so taking that right turn, I was like, holy smokes. So I got in there, and or even like the little one, like when we went on the patron ride and we were there in Custer State Park, and there was one little section that had that like a double loop that was rated for 15 or 20, and I was behind. I wasn't at the very end of the pack, but I was pretty close, and a couple of those guys got really slowed up in there, and I was basically taking that whole loop. Basically, the bike was straight up. I mean, the only thing that was keeping me from falling over was I would roll just enough, get enough distance, and then I'd be able to give it gas and then flow it through. So, you know, it was, if you're going to buy a new bike that's a different platform, that was a great experience to do it with, because not only was I relearning an Ultra, because my road glides were all specials. So I was relearning the Ultra, the bat wing with the trunk, but then you add 2-up, and then you add all that gear. And like I said, man, there was that luggage rack is, I think, rated for like 20 pounds.
Right.
I can tell you that Rick Rack bag was probably about 40 pounds.
Yep. Oh, I believe
and then
it.
it's on top of your trunk.
Yep.
So when you're doing slow speed through corners, like that very first there in the Starbucks, it was top heavy, man. It was top heavy.
I believe that, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were loaded. You were loaded.
So it was a good experience, and I definitely like the bike since then. I've taken it on several rides. I think it's up to close to 4,000 miles now, and then you add the, close to 3,500 that I've done on Cholita.
Mm-hmm.
Then you add about the 3,000 on the GS. And then, of course, the Trike, it had, 5,500 miles on it that I put on all this year.
Yeah.
So it was a good deal. But I just want to tell people, if you think you're ready for a Trike and it works for you, do not hesitate. We saw so many Trikes in Sturgis, and it was kind of cool to see. It's just, for me, my upper body, wrists, elbows, shoulders, they were just, beat up. Just the 3 days there, just beat them up. And for somebody who doesn't have that type of medical condition, just because I'm telling you this doesn't mean that you're going to experience the same thing. Because my dad, he says he gets worn out, but he's also older. But for him, it helps because of his broken pelvis when he was run over on his motorcycle and stuff. So for him, it's the great option. For me, it just didn't work out. And I had plans to keep it. I mean, heck, I'd already paid about a quarter of it off, and I don't, so.
Yeah. No, and you're right. Finishing that off is, it just because didn't work for Big Daddy doesn't mean that we're not saying the Trike is not a good option. Clearly, it's a good option because we saw a ton of them. But this is just Big Daddy's experience and why he decided, and hopefully it helps some of you, deciding on, if you're in the middle there, like, do I go Trike or do I do another 2-wheel Ultra Limited? Hopefully it just brings some overall information for you, and hopefully it's useful to a lot of you out there. And, that said, we're going to take it out. We appreciate everybody being in the chat. All you guys, I'm sorry about been a long time since we've had any video feed issues, and I know the audio was good, and that's cool. But I know my Big Daddy's smooth as butter the whole time, but my video feed is the one that was choppy, and I don't know why. It's clearly something in the streaming software today. But nonetheless, so a call to action, guys. Big Daddy's here. We are, and many of you know, we got Clockworks in the store now. So y'all are familiar. Anybody who's ridden motorcycles for any length of time realizes Clockworks has been in the industry for a long time. We also have our beloved F4 Customs windshields. Of course, we had them first, and we brought Clockworks on, and the store listings are all up to date. There's information over there. We've got a lot of different models. Anything? What else you want to say?
Yeah, we went into this wholeheartedly. So we pre-planned this, and we have the stock, almost stock of every model for 14 and up, FLH, which is your Batwing, and we have every size for the Road Glide, 15 and up, and we even have a couple for Road Kings that are there. So they're selling well. In fact, I just had to place a second order. But they're always asking us, what windshield did we have? And when we had the Clockworks, and of course we weren't a dealer, so we were referring them to another outlet. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking for a Clockworks, we'd definitely like to be the one to sell it to you. And the F4 is great too. I get emails all the time where people are asking which one would be better for me, and I'll discuss with them, well, do you like a classic style, or are you open to this? And if some say I'm open to the Clockworks, and then others say I want the classic style, and the F4 works perfectly for them. So we have no preference. It's really what you like. Exactly.
Well said. They're both great windshields, or they wouldn't be in the law-abiding biker store, and that's why they're there. And Clockworks has been around a long, long time, as has S4 Customs. Really, Clockworks is probably a little bit more known over the years for whatever reason. But both great windshields. You'd be happy with either. It's going to depend on your needs. I did do a video on the F4 Customs, but we haven't done a video on the Clockworks yet. We are planning on doing that. We'll do a quick install, and in that video, I want to talk a little bit about sizing. There's some measurements you can take. I want to do that in that video and kind of show you guys so that you guys can better determine maybe how tall of a windshield as far as Clockworks goes, because they are a little bit different. They come back and then go up, and so they do have a sizing deal. We have the instructions on the listing, paper instructions for sizing, so check out our listing. There's a hot link right there that you can figure out how to measure, but nonetheless, I know video is always better. That's what we do here at Law Abiding Biker Media. So I'm thinking after Christmas, Big Daddy, or before if it works out, but probably after beginning of the year, we'll try to get a Clockworks video up and going for you guys and give you some information on those bad boys. You can decide what you want. And thank you, as always, for shopping in the Law Abiding Biker store. We really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
We're out.